Genetic engineering, also called genetic modification or genetic manipulation, is the direct manipulation of an organism's genes using biotechnology. In this case, the ethical issue is that of modifying babies in early stages of development. With our future being held in the hands of science, science will continue to surprise us with what it can discover and create. At the core of science's self-modification is technology. New tools enable new structures of knowledge and new ways of discovery. The achievement of science is to know new things. The evolution of science is to know them in different ways. One of the newer technologies we have discovered with science is the engineering of our babies before they are born to prevent major diseases, choose gender, or even eye and hair color. But how is this done? Well, genetic engineering involves deploying a viral vector that delivers functional genes inside the human body by infecting the cell. Any repercussions from this are still unknown. There are no clues as to where functional genes are being placed. They may even replace the important genes instead of mutated genes. Thus, this has led to another health condition or disease to human. Also, as defective genes are replaced with functional genes, then it is to be expected that there will be a reduction in genetic diversity in human beings, and will have identical genomes. The population as a whole will be susceptible to a virus or any form of disease. To find information about the current representation of this issue in today's society, I posted a survey I created to the Adelaide subreddit on the website Reddit. The purpose of this was to make sure I had obtained data from a select group of people, Adelaideans. I received 58 responses from this group in a range of ages. All ages were welcome. The survey contained 4 questions asking for responses on different areas of genetic modification and if they are acceptable or not. Here are the results. Firstly, gender. Throughout the 58 responses, roughly half of the respondents were male, while the other half female. This won't cause any problems. For the age responses, I had a vast majority of the recipients were adults. There were only 5 responses from teenagers, which may skew my data to a more mature selection. Now to the questions. The first one asked the respondent if they think parents should be able to genetically modify their child. The majority of responses stated maybe, which doesn't help much to come to an agreement. The second question was more specific in asking if the respondent would modify their children to reduce the chance of major diseases. 70% said they would. And the last 2 questions asked if the respondent would modify their child for cosmetic purposes. A big majority said no to this. These results are mostly backed up by the Catholic Church's opinion, which makes sense since the big majority of Australians are Catholic, but one response doesn't quite work. The Catholic Church will only allow humans to be altered if it will cure an illness, but not the prevention of future illnesses. Most believe it is wrong as it tampers with God's creation. This is the idea that humans should not gain enough power so they can take on the tasks usually reserved for God. Embryos that are destroyed in genetic altering because they have the wrong tissue type are considered by some Christians to have full human status, and so they would be against these procedures. Some Christians believe that the principle of the holiness of life covers all human life from the embryo stage, but others it is acceptable because the embryos are under 14 days old. But most Christians argue that as long as the technology is used to prevent disease and not for non-medical gender selection or for enhancement, it is acceptable. They might consider it as part of the role as stewards and as an act of healing. But what is another religion's opinion on this issue? As an example, the Jewish community are much like the Catholics in the sense that they are okay with genetic engineering when the purpose of it is to help cure diseases. They do not believe in the genetic engineering to select eye color or other personal features. For me, personal values are things that denote a sense of right or wrong, good or bad. Values can serve as standards of behavior, guidelines for decision making, and influence me with my attitude or behavior. I believe that ethics can be defined differently by every person. Ethics for me are my customs, conduct, and character, but mostly my personal beliefs. These are my thoughts. Seeing my values are different to the next person, my ethical viewpoint on this issue is also. I am not religious, so there are not any customs or teachings changing my beliefs. I think that genetic modification is something that should be embraced, but thoroughly experimented. I don't think people should abuse this technology for greedy reasons like designer babies, but for helping the human race prosper. Despite not being Catholic, my viewpoints on the issue are very much similar to the Church's. I do believe that with proper guidelines and laws, modifying embryos before birth can help society and outweigh any negatives.